We're streaming. Awesome. Okay,
Hooray!
we're live.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. If we are live, it is so nice to see you all again. This is for May's Beyond the Hunt. Fern and I are very excited to be back in front of the cameras once again. As we have some exciting information for you, including the release date for the Kickstarter. That will be soon TM. We'll be announcing that sometime during this presentation, as well as talking about various other things. Of course, as per usual, if you've got questions, make sure you drop them in the live chat, in the comments, etc. We'd like to pull from as many places as possible to make sure that we are answering your feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is episode 3 of Beyond the Hunt. I believe this one's called the Summer of Wild Hunt Festival.
Woo!
Because guess what? This summer.
Exactly. All right. Yeah, so Fern, do you know of any questions that we've gotten in other places that we could answer? Hold on. I think there may have been one. Oh, I know what I can talk about.
hmm
So first things first, if you were a backer for the original game, we have sent out a Kickstarter update on that original campaign page. So if you're interested in reading that, definitely go check that out there. I suppose we could throw that link somewhere, either in the description of this video or something. We'll make sure that's available. If not, just search Wild Hunt Festival on Google. You'll be able to get the original campaign page. We posted an update there. I posted an update there. It's got lots of information about the new games, obviously stuff that we've talked about in previous Beyond the Hunts, as well as kind of a, what to expect going forwards from this project. It is important for us to, get all of those things out there and be as transparent as possible.
Yeah, and I think that segues perfectly into the next thing, which I think some people have been asking about, which is what is Wild Hunt Studios? And also, this other thing that we have conveniently on the stream, if you're looking right here, it's a nice QR code that we just made called that says "Join the Hunt." We also made it a Discord sticker where we're going to be spamming that in the Lying Wing Discord. Hold on, let me throw it up here. A
I
sticker
got
of
you.
the
I put
logo.
it.
Yeah. You can go ahead and scan it. That leads to Wild Hunt Studios link tree and to the and from there the campaign for this next release. Uh,
Yeah, so the link tree is fresh off the press. It's got plenty of cool new information, including our new website. I believe that's just wildhuntfestival.com,
yep.
if I remember correctly. That website will be updated with various information. Things like some of these lore drops that we've been talking about will be available on there. Various blog posts, newsletters, etc. All things like that will be available there. And we will make sure to announce when we make new posts there, because I think it's kind of one of those things that can fall by the wayside if we don't actively make sure people are aware that it's happening,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Um, Also, I think important to note is that oh gosh, Wild Hunt Studios something. One sec, I forgot what I was gonna say.
The link tree, the QR code,
Linktree
the new
QR code.
website.
All that's really important. Oh yes, the website wildhuntstudios.com or no wildhuntfestival.com is still a work in progress. There are still some things that we're going to make a little better. So if you have any feedback on that, please feel free to let us know, and we will work on it and incorporate your feedback into improving the site because we do want to make that the central hub for all things Wild Hunt Festival going forward.
Yeah, it's kind of nostalgic, really, to have a website that you'd check like once a week or like a couple times a month, kind of like way back in the day when those sites with like forums and blog posts were just all over the place. Miss those days.
Yeah. It reminds me of like checking Reddit, which I don't really do very often, but it reminds me of
Yeah,
checking
but
some specific subreddit. Yeah.
it's the same feeling.
So then the question I think that we've been meaning to answer is what is Wild Hunt Studios?
Yes, back to the original question at hand. Sorry, I'm pulling up
No worries.
the previous Kickstarter campaign post because I do believe that there was maybe a question or two in there
Oh,
in the comments.
I forgot to look for comments on that post.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about Wild Hunt Studios first, real fast, and then we'll circle back around. All right. So anyway, Wild Hunt Studios. The long and short of it is that it is Fern and I. We are both equally what are we calling ourselves? Executive lead producers or whatever.
I don't know what the title is.
I don't know what the title is. Anyway, subsidiary under Lion Wing that is fully devoted to making Wild Hunt Festival content. So I'm sure, as you've seen in our previous episodes, this is the namesake for Fern and I. We've already made a whole lot of content, and we're really excited to be able to bring that to you. But that's just going to be, you'll be able to get a pretty good handful of it in the upcoming release, and going forwards, it'll be mostly us. Yeah, we are dedicated to continuing the universe of Wild Hunt Festival as it is, and it is exciting for us to be able to showcase in an official capacity, all the hard work that we've been doing over the past couple of years.
Yep. And so Wild Hunt Studios, very importantly, is a studio is entirely dedicated to Wild Hunt Festival. So anything you see under Wild Hunt Studios will be only in Wild Hunt Festival terms, or potentially in other Kradia terms, but that's only in its relation to Wild Hunt Festival. The other thing is that it is people that hopefully you've seen around on the Discord and people you know. The two of us are very active on the Discord, I would like to say, and just know that this is our space to bring more Wild Hunt Festival under the supervision and approval of Ramo. But he has his own things to work on, so he might not be entirely active as we are in this case. But it's our opportunity to bring you more stuff for Wild Hunt Festival under this subsidiary, so that you know that it's coming from a place that is officially Kradia Wild Hunt Festival.
Yes. Yeah, so I think that answers it perfectly. We've got a couple of questions. Oh, not really. Got a couple comments on the original post that we can kind of talk about if you
Sure.
if you want to dig into that, with a little bit of controversy in here too. So if
Okay.
you're interested in getting down into the weeds, let's get it. So one comment from all these comments are from a couple days ago. One says, replayed it recently and enjoyed it again. Nice to see it coming back. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Someone says, well, okay, we'll get to the controversy at the end.
Okay.
The other one was, as an original backer, is there going to be an option to upgrade to the anniversary edition at a discount, or an upgrade pack with all new or updated content / components / box?
Okay.
Now, if you ask me, off the bat, that kind of just sounds like buying Anniversary Edition.
Yes. So there's an interesting question as what you consider the upgrade pack to be. If you were to say, oh, I just want the materials, the game components that I'm not going to get, or that I didn't get the first time, I just want the new content, then you're going to want to buy Donkai Survey Brigade, and you're going to want to buy an Aria of Light and Shadow. Donkai Survey Brigade will come with a Battlefield die, so you get basically all of the new components from that. And Aria Light and Shadow will give you the only 2 characters and 4 bosses that you're missing that aren't included in that. If you want to upgrade your previous components to the new size, unfortunately you're going to just have to buy the anniversary box, because we can't magically change the size of your components, and upgrading those would just mean replacing all of them, because we did touch essentially every component in the game.
Right.
In terms of upgrade, if you want to just get new stuff, the game is fully compatible. You'll just have to be dealing with things with previous UI elements and the current UI elements intermittently, and that's okay. The game totally functions in that way, but you'll have to deal with that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So if you just want the new stuff, just buy Donkai Survey Brigade and Aria of Light and Shadow, get those 2 things, and then you're good.
Right. And great answer. I think it is definitely worth taking into consideration the fact that the Anniversary Edition and the big Chronicles box as it is absolutely like worth its value in just components alone. I do think that the new game size, the new everything that we've done to the game, the fixed translation issues, and it all just escapes me. The fixed translation issues, the various changes to like certain wording things, even just in rule books and on character and boss boards. The new UI is absolutely gorgeous, and obviously I'm going to be biased, but I am going to say that because it is. This is like when I wrote that blog post, I had an original title at the top that I think Bradley changed when he posted it. I called it a revival like no other. I think that this is someone who looks back at the original Kradia and had a good time with it will absolutely understand that it to be worthwhile, like getting in while it's hot and investing yourself in the new age or the new era of the game, really. The original, like I said, is great, and I still love it to pieces. But the new stuff is just going to be this way going forwards. So if you're excited for the new stuff, great. We want to have you. We want to be able to talk to you about things like this. But I think that the purchase is absolutely worth your buck.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
The other thing, and since we've tested with the new UI quite a bit, is that like the comparison we tend to get on that is the new UI is the kind of UI that Wild Hunt Festival should have been the first time. It's so much of an improvement. It deals with a lot of the annoying issues that we used to have with the tiny plastic tokens, with visual like significance. All of that has been addressed in the new UI, and it looks amazing, and it really helps portray the actual game itself. So even if you don't want to buy all of that nonsense because you already have the original game, absolutely feel free to buy Donkai Server Brigade and an Aria of Light and Shadow just to upgrade your current edition to the new thing. If you want to join in on the new UI because it looks gorgeous, buy that Chronicles box. We'll see you either way. We're really excited to see you moving forward. We know that it's a reprint of previous content. That's okay. We're not trying to invalidate your previous purchase. But moving forward, we'll be making entirely new stuff, and that's going to be the really cool stuff that you see.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree. Also worth mentioning in that post, I guess it's better to probably speak this out into the aether without just like requiring people to read that. If you are a backer from the original product and you are looking for something to make good on, Bradley did announce during the first Beyond the Hunt that he is willing to, is going to be reprinting those plastic boards from the first campaign that came out not so good. And if you're interested in getting a hold of those, the newer printed versions, fair warning, it is the UI from the original game, unchanged. He will be doing that with free shipping if you purchase anything from the new campaign, or if you just want those replacement boards, you can get those with just a small shipping fee.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool and worth noting, and is like all the way at the bottom of that post.
Yep, and the boards themselves are at no cost to original backers, just the shipping if they don't buy anything. So
right.
Yeah, absolutely. This was before the two of us joined on the project, but we saw customer feedback on that way before we joined, that the plastic boards were kind of bad and they weren't really living up to the promises. So Bradley's going through on making good on that, and we will be getting those plastic boards in a better quality for you all if you want that. If not, that's absolutely fine. Of course, it's the old UI, so if you're looking for the new UI, unfortunately, I don't think we're doing plastic boards. I don't even think we're doing double layered boards, just because the boards are really good at doing their job.
Right. With the way that the new UI is, I don't think it is really lending itself well to finding a token that is nicely sized to fit on the UI. Mm-hmm. So dual layer boards may be out of the question on that one. So continuing to talk about the original game, I know that there was also a mention of putting a founding backers page into the rule book. So if you backed the original game, your name will be available in there. We mentioned that and talk about that a little bit in the Kickstarter update post on the previous game. So if we need your name or anything like that, definitely be on the lookout for like a Google form or something like that. We will be sure to keep our eyes peeled on those places.
And that's
Okay.
if you were an original backer. There's probably going to be an option for new backers of the Anniversary Edition who bought the Chronicles box most likely to also have their name in the credits if that's something you want to do. If you want to put, I know someone always puts Sleeves Linen Finish in the
Sleeves
credits.
linen finish.
If you still want to do that, there's probably going to be a deluxe edition of Wild Hunt Festival where you'll get to put your name in the credits, or I guess whatever name you tell us that isn't inappropriate. So, no worries. If you were an original backer, absolutely, you'll get that. If you're not, then you can, in fact, get your name at the end of the credits.
Okay. Now, on to the controversial stuff.
Okay.
Before we get to the fun release dates and whatnot. So, someone says, back to Wild Hunt Festival, and I think we played it twice. Dull game with annoying mechanics and poor physical design. So more content not very appealing. Let's break that down, shall we?
Sure.
So, personally, I can understand where you're coming from in terms of some mechanics being annoying. But without exact references to what you're saying, I don't quite understand the point of the argument, because a lot of the bosses in the original game, while they do have annoying mechanics, is kind of the purpose. It is a boss battler through and through, and these fights are meant to be challenging. I take it from me, someone who's completed their full report card of every single fight in the game, the super user, sue me. As someone who's completed every single fight in the game, there are definitely bosses that I enjoy fighting and would be willing to introduce friends to and go back to and fight. And there are some bosses I would never look back on, and that's just how it is. Some fights are really, really cool. Fun, like thought-provoking, like how do I make a team that kind of counters this guy? And, some just come to the luck of the roll of the die. There are boss attacks that have randomness involved. I personally disagree with the dull game quote. However, I do think that the new UI will help sell the non-dull thing because it is so colorful and there's so much more stuff to look at, and all the characters have their full art on the fronts of the cards, so it's definitely a massive upgrade from what we saw originally.
Yeah. From a mechanics point of view, I think they talked about what was it, UI? Annoying UI or ambiguous?
Just annoying mechanics and poor physical design.
Poor physical design. Yes. So the UI overhaul that we've been going over has been attempting to address some of the issues with the physical design of the game. Only from a mechanics point, I can't talk about, boss design because that's not really going to change. The boss art's kind of already there, and we're not looking to redo that. But things like spaces for zero and things like moving tokens on and off boards, I understand is an annoying part of the game. And that definitely is like a problem a lot of the times when certain things can have that kind of aspect and you're like moving tokens on and off, picking up those tiny little things and trying to figure out where they are. All of that is a little bit of nonsense that we've been removing piece by piece from the UI. Spaces for zero really helps with that. You don't take tokens on and off the board for any of that stuff. The expanded UI lets you see more clearly where things are. The fact that the names of the characters are on the skill cards helps you understand what skill card belongs to what character without memorizing every skill of every character in order to reference them. So a lot of these pressure points where someone would look at this and be like, this is annoying, I don't want to fiddle with it for 5 minutes in order to set up the game, a lot of those things have been smoothed out and worked through. So that can help. In terms of the game being dull, it is a boss battler that looks like a puzzle, or it looks like a boss battler, functions more like a puzzler game. So if you're not into cooperative puzzle solving with some combat mechanics, unfortunately, I don't think this is the game. Uh, really, that is the game. It's a cooperative boss battler with some sort of like puzzle that you work through in real time with little random element. And that's just been how karate has been forever. I love it to death because of that. I love the mental challenge that it presents, and I love the working through that with non-deterministic properties. Because if it was a deterministic puzzle game, I think it would be weaker. So if
Fair
through
enough.
all of that it's dull, I don't know what to tell you. Bosses can be challenging. I will tell you, Lemugia EX originally, the way we had thought it worked, rough. That boss sucked. Um, those
Full
ruling
stop.
issues have been fixed. The boss is still difficult. That boss is hard. Um, what is the Kraken? Kraken Kramish is
Kraken Kramish is ridiculous.
difficult and
His
insane.
his abilities and his enrage pop like all the time. He's constantly getting back to full minions.
Yep.
Getting rid of him and doing the achievement in one fight was my saving grace.
Yep. And Killer Rabbit still blows you up, and that's kind of the point. uh,
And I actually okay, I really like Killer Rabbit because he's like one of the only bosses that has like a true phase 2
yep.
in his fight. And I think I really like bringing him to the table when I'm introducing new people to the game because they don't look at the boss card and they go, "Oh, okay, did we beat it?" And then I flip him over and then I say, "All right, the guy with the highest HP, 8 and stun. Good luck."
Yep. Yeah. So like
Part
that
of the
stuff still
reason why
happens.
Erase is really great.
If you find that annoying, I'm sorry. If you find that dull, I don't think so. I like the challenge is that every boss is a different puzzle. And if you're looking for an optimization, I plan my attack patterns out. I think you talk about this a lot with 14, like your rotation, follow your rotation, high damage output, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
if you're looking for that, this game's less of that. You're adapting to the situation, you're calculating out what kinds of roles the boss will be able to do, what likely its attack is going to be, even though you never know because you could just roll all sixes. Uh, that kind of work in progress game is really cool because it provides active thinking and active like cooperative work to maneuver through a situation where you're essentially at a disadvantage at every point in the game until the end.
Right.
And that's really
Yeah.
cool to me. And like that's the selling point of Wild Hunt Festival. So if that to you is a dull game with annoying mechanics, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And that's a great way to put it. And speaking of bosses, I guess we can also mention a little bit on what we've been up to. So recently, Fern and I completed a recorded playthrough of the entirety of Donkai Survey Brigade. We'll be editing that together and hopefully sticking that up onto the channel probably around the time. Just go through a couple editing passes. We're gonna record a little bit of post commentary and stuff like that. We're going to be uploading that probably closer to the release date, if not on the release date. We'll see when that comes around.
It'll definitely be
Um,
on the Kickstarter when it launches.
Yes, absolutely. So there'll be that. That'll be really cool to watch. You guys will be able to watch a full playthrough and a full, like glimpse into our minds as we play Wild Hunt Festival. So that'll be really neat.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we had a good time. I can definitely tell you it is a little bit of a thinker and a nail biter towards the end there.
It's a
I
nail biter
definitely
at the
got messed
beginning,
up.
honestly.
True, true. It's a bit of a nail biter. I got messed up real bad, but we pulled through, and it's a really good time.
Hmm.
So yeah. Speaking of bosses, though, and moving over from that point, did you want to talk about the stuff that we had pre-planned over here?
Oh yeah. So we showed off a lot of the characters before. So I thought, why not let's show off some of the new bosses coming into Donkai Server Brigade. Now, we're not going to show, I think, the actual Server Brigade bosses this time. We're going to show off the challenge bosses that come with the package. Now, we did say Donkai Server Brigade was going to be a standalone package. That means that anything you get from there, you'll be able to run through. Donkey Server Brigade has its own rules, its own rule book, and its own characters and own bosses. Characters work and everything. Um, so you'll be able to work through that. Challenge mode, as you may remember, comes you starts with you in a Kuna and without items. So you can absolutely play a challenge mode in Donkey Server Brigade. We actually provide you an Akuna, and you'll get to see the two bosses that use some unique mechanics and some new ailments for you.
Yeah. All right, so let me swap on over here.
Yeah.
Phone cam, I'm still in the view. All right. So
center.
Who do we want to talk about first?
1 second as I hide all of these. Oh, not that one. There we go.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, pick one.
Yeah, let's just go with Ignis first. All right. So one of the two new challenge bosses you'll be able to face in Donkai Survey Brigade, as brought to you by our content from Wild Hunt Studios, is Ignis, Envoy of the Sun. This guy is really cool. Oh, hey, actually, nice zoom in there.
Yeah.
Okay, Envoy of the Sun. He is a pretty tanky boss, getting quite close to that 40 HP limit that we usually have. He is pretty much just a heavy hitter who wants to apply one of his two special new ailments called Scorch. And I'm going to let Fern go over that.
Yeah.
Scorch.
So, for those of you that have been keeping up, we talked about applying new ailments, and this is one of our ways to do that without expanding the character boards, is by tying ailments to tokens. Secondly, we decided to make these ailments stackable. As Jake showed you previously on that ailment thing, there is a 1 and a 2 on the Scorch ailment, and Scorch has different effects depending on how much Scorch you have. So, it's a spooky ailment. Scorch is a physical ailment, which means it can be cleared through any physical ailment clears. And it can get scary. Let's just go with that. If you don't manage it, you will die. And that's kind of the point.
Yeah, and also joining the ailments gang for the first time is this. Hold on, move it up to make sure it's in the center of the screen. This little extra unique line of text. Anytime you would remove Scorch, you may only remove one level of it at a time.
Yep.
So if you're on 2 and you have 2 Scorch, you are flipping that sucker back over to 1.
Yeah. This boss is really cool. It focuses on Scorch exclusively, and it's pretty much an all-out battle to figure out how you get to 0. This boss focuses on offense entirely.
Yeah. Appreciate the art for a second here. Look how cool this guy looks.
Yep. Also, I don't know if anyone has seen the new boss. I think we showed off the boss previously. This is the new boss UI. It hasn't really changed. The boss board has just gotten a little bigger. The text has gotten bigger, and we've got a 0 on the rage meter. There's not too much different, like the entire do-over we had with the character boards, but I really like how this looks and how it's presented to the player, and we think it's going to be really awesome to play through.
Yeah, very big fan. Now, before I show you their extra card, and we can talk a little bit about their ailments, we've also got the opposite of the Envoy of the Sun, that I'm sure most of you could guess. The Envoy of the Moon. This is Selene. Also coming with its own status ailment we are calling Lunacy. Yep. Which we will go into in just a second.
As a not too heavy-handed reference, these bosses are based on the Sun and Moon and have ailments related to the Sun and Moon. I don't really want to go too far into it because, like, I don't want to explain something that people probably know about way too much already. I love basing things off of mythologies and off of celestial bodies. So like this is a great one to have. There's a lot of mythologies that reference the sun and moon, so there we pull from a lot of aspects when we built these two bosses. Each one having an ailment tied is also really cool. The moon is a mental ailment, and we call it lunacy. As you may have noticed at some point in your life, the word lunatic actually derives from the word for moon. So the moon makes you crazy. It has been a thing that has been within our standard lexicon for hundreds of years, and we're just playing off of that, and I think it's really cool. Lunacy, again, is a mental ailment, and for anyone who's been paying attention to Myra a little too much, because we talked about Myra a bit in the previous Beyond the Hunt, she turns mental ailments into physical ones. Scorch and Lunacy are themselves that pair. So Lunacy turns into Scorch, as the mental ailment turns into the physical ailment, as every other mental ailment has its own associated physical ailment. So we have thought of everything, we've put it in there, and we think it's a really nice interaction. Because, you know, the witch that sells potions and brews alcohol is kind of immune to being crazy. I don't know. That sounds fun.
Yeah, exactly right. So lunacy does function a little bit different. If you take on 3 charges of lunacy, you will instantly KO, which is really dangerous. But I guess that kind of like surviving ailments and like kind of just still fighting while under all these debilitating effects is easier said than done, especially with the physical ones, because the mental ones are usually just kind of like eating at your turn. We didn't really want to do that with this one necessarily, so that's why instead you'll be taking extra damage or be forced to use the charge attack action as you see on the second one, or instantly dying.
Yeah, that's actually one of the interesting things is every well, not every mental ailment, specifically sleep and confuse remove your turn. Fear removes your options. So we wanted to build a mental ailment that kind of did that in a different way, and that is to having the first application of that ailment to not be something that eliminates your options, but to discourage your options. So it punishes you for gaining mana, which is something really interesting that we haven't really done before. The second one does take up your turn, and it takes up your turn in a way that hasn't been done before as well, by forcing you to charge attack your friend or yourself. Is it your friend or yourself?
I believe targeting the unit before you is what it says.
Your friend. So you charge attack your friend.
You're hitting your friend.
And then the third one is you just die. The important thing about that is we did say you can only remove 1 level of Scorch at a time. You can remove as many levels of Lunacy as you want. But importantly, because mental ailments play a little differently, there was a rule in the game where mental ailments supersede previous mental ailments. Lunacy has a rule that says if you would get a different mental ailment, you get lunacy instead. So be careful when you have lunacy.
Yes. So if I recall correctly, does she actually attempt to target you with... Yes.
Yeah.
She attempts to hit you with sleep on one of her attacks.
At least 1 mental ailment.
Yeah, so that's real scary. She's... Her health pool may be low, but this boss will be a threat for sure. And now, there is one other really cool mechanic that I'd like to mention, and the reason why I put Celestial Dominion down in the first place is because when you're fighting Selene and Ignis, because they are the envoys of their respective domains, when Celestial Dominion is active, and you are fighting Selene, as long as you are under a moon symbol on the battlefield, the moon battlefield is always in effect. So, the way that works... Let me grab Battlefield here so I can make an example. If you have a... Let's go right here. Actually, Fern, would you like to explain what would happen in this exact situation here if we were, say... hold on, I'm going to grab a survey token here to use as my marker. If you were on Moon at the top, nice and easy.
Yeah. So let's say you
And then
start
you went
on
down to sun.
yeah. Let's say you start on moon.
Go ahead and explain that.
So you do the moon effect as normal. Now Celestial Dominion essentially says that if you're under the aspect of that boss, you continue to do that aspect until you're no longer under that. So as soon as you hit moon, you do the moon thing. You're currently under moon. That's all right. You go to your next turn. You change the battlefield because that's how you do things. Now you activate the sun part, and you still activate the previous moon part you were under. That moon will continue to activate until you reach the end of the column. Um, we've done some math on this. It is really interesting because we have this for moon and we have this for sun. There is no star domain at the moment. Um, this changes some aspects of the battlefield. It does have both of those battlefields, both the sun and the moon in this case, being active at the same time. We've looked at every case of the game where that may be a problem. It actually is just a really cool rules interaction. Uh, and so this might get you thinking. It's only against these bosses. Don't worry, this isn't some sort of like global effect where you're gonna have to remember for the rest of your life. Uh, and it's a really nice way to encourage players to play with the battlefield in unique ways.
Yes. So, that is a really cool thing. And also, some of you may realize that there are certain characters like Suika from the original game who has a passive under certain uh, under certain situations, such as the sun or the moon. And those effects will now be lasting longer in against these bosses, or characters like the new Galateo Survey Brigade, who has a charge attack that is only active under certain circumstances, under certain battlefields. You can activate multiple of those at once, which could make that a really, really powerful turn for a character like that.
Yep. And we just encourage players to work through what's fun and what they figure out. Of course, every boss is supposed to provide a new puzzle, and we wanted these bosses to provide these two different puzzles in a way that interact well together. Of course, we've got new ailments. Ailments, I don't believe, are too much of a problem, even if they're a stacking ailment, in that you know how to deal with them and you understand them more often than not already. This battlefield thing might get you thinking, but it's really not as difficult as it is to write it down in words.
It appears like a lot of text, but it is quite simple.
Explaining it in text actually ended up being really difficult. We went through like 5 different iterations of like, how do we make this work so that the words make sense? Once you do it the first time, you pretty much know what you're doing.
Yeah. And hey, listen, I'm not going to complain if you happen to lose a fight against one of these two bosses. That means we did well.
Yeah, the bosses are not supposed to be cakewalks. Let's go with that. No boss is supposed to be
such as a
guaranteed
challenge
victory.
boss, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, maybe level 1 story bosses are supposed to be a guaranteed victory. But challenge bosses, you know, the challenge is supposed to be in the boss. So have fun with that.
yeah.
Celine might seem like an easy boss at only 28 health. That's probably one of the lowest health bosses we have. It's not that easy. You'll get to see some things about it. You'll also notice that it's very much based on the moon. There's some neat numerical hints in there. Don't worry about it.
Heck yeah. Okay. Well, I do believe that kind of wraps up what we wanted to talk about from the component perspective. Checking my various live chats to make sure we don't have any active questions. Okay. Yeah. I'll go back to my regular camera scene. There I am.
Yeah,
Hello.
1 second as I get everything back.
Okay.
Perfect.
Did we have anything else that we wanted to go over? Any questions from the live chats, which I'm not seeing any at the moment? That we could talk about before revealing our release date.
Yeah. So if you've already scanned the QR code and you've looked at the link tree, you might actually have seen the release date. I believe it's somewhere on there.
Yeah, I put it under the description of the link tree.
um, but yeah, Wild Hunt Festival under current assumptions will be going to Kickstarter on June 24th, I believe is the day. Um,
Woo!
that might be 1 to 2 days off in either direction. It might be earlier than that. I don't know. Current plan is to start on June 24th. If you hear nothing else from us, that's when it's going.
Yeah. If literally any changes whatsoever happen, you will hear from us in a social media post or in the Wild Hunt Festival channel, in an announcement, whatever, something along those lines. We will be there. Like most Lion Wing Kickstarters, I do believe we typically start around like noon or like lunchtime-ish Eastern Standard Time
I
on
think
those
that's right.
days.
I don't
I
know
believe
what
that's what
time it
happened
is.
on the last one.
Yeah, I don't remember what time it is specifically, but when we say it goes up on that day, it probably doesn't go up first thing in the morning. I don't know. It might. Just expect to see it at some point that day. We will be live in either a Lion Wing Talks or a Beyond the Hunt that day or the next day, depending on how we get our schedules working.
Yeah,
So
that's right. That's a Thursday, right?
it's a Thursday. So
Oh, wait,
expect to
June?
see
No,
us again,
that's a Tuesday.
where we'll be welcoming every new backer and everyone new to the server who may have just seen this at one point, or at some point in the ads or anything else like that. We'll be here to answer any and all questions from what is it, from established community or new community. We're here to accept everyone here.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time, and we'll make sure to get all those links in the description that you need to see because those are pretty important.
Hmm.
If you haven't scanned the QR code yet, please do. It is very, very important that you go through the QR code and get to the new campaign page and click, what is it, save now or
Notify
watch
me on
or like,
launch, whatever it
yes,
is.
notify me on launch. That is very, very important for our analytics. So we would really, really, really appreciate if you guys could do that. It would mean the world to us.
Yep. You'll also see us spamming that sticker in the Lion Discord. If you have Nitro, feel free to spam that in other Discords.
Hell
We've
yeah.
checked; it's not an unsafe QR code. It is literally just moving to our link tree.
Yeah.
Uh,
What
also
else?
think
What else? We can push the Twitter. We've got a Twitter at Wild Hunt Fest. We've got a new Facebook page, Wild Hunt Festival. I made a post on there today. I made a post on the Twitter today. We've also got a Blue Sky. Follow us or whatever they do over there. Feel free to chat with us on all platforms. We're gonna try to grow our little social hemisphere so that we can get out to as many new people as possible.
yeah,
We're very, very excited.
expect to see a lore entry between now and then because
Yes.
we're getting on that. We're gonna start telling that story we wanted to tell, and it's gonna be a fun time exploring pieces of the continent of Kradia with this new direction in terms of the Fabled Tellers as a new branch of adventurers and
Mhm.
are the Anthema Melancholia of the Aria of Light and Shadow that is slowly developing as we continue to release more and more teasers for it.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess the next Beyond the Hunt is scheduled for the day of the Kickstarter launch.
Yep,
That kind of makes it easy for me.
day of or day after,
Did you
one of the
have?
two.
Yeah, if you're available day of, I think we should do it.
Yeah.
All right, man. If anybody has any questions about anything Wild Hunt Festival related or not, definitely make sure to hit up myself or Fern on the Discord. We are always here to take your questions, always here to be answering stuff for people. So yeah, we're very excited, and we will see you for the launch of the Wild Hunt Festival Kickstarter on June 24th.
See you there.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.